Hello and welcome to PubShorts episode 99 titled Do I Wanna Know? I do want to know, but maybe you want to know who I am. My name is Dr. KK, the Innovation Officer at Inago, and I have with me Tony O'Rourke. Early morning in England.
Well, do you really want to know that? It could be any time, day or night. Hello, everyone. I'm Tony O'Rourke, and welcome to episode 99 of Pub Shorts. I can't
Yes,
believe we've
yeah.
reached episode 99, and the next episode will be episode 100. I hope
Yes.
there's cake. Um, and what we like to do is, so KK and I've been recording this podcast for just about a year now.
Mhm.
And we like to talk about stories that relate to um, what can impact the work of the researcher and the research publisher, the academic publisher, in terms of AI, technology, policy, changes in science, changes in research practice, and we just take a quick look at articles related to that. And what we do is we like to, because KK and I are both music obsessed. I'm not going to say mildly anymore because I know I am. We like to name each episode after a song, and particularly a British
Mhm.
rock or pop song from the last 30, 40 years. So those of you with a reasonably good knowledge of the UK indie scene will know the band the Arctic Monkeys, and this particular song from 2013 is called "Do I Want to Know," which is from, I think it's from the AM album,
Mhm.
um, and we called it "Do I Want to Know" because we addressed that uneasy question about to examine delegating tasks to the whole process of examining delegating tasks to AI, declaration generators, ignored retractions, plagiarism risks, and the incentives that make hallucinated citations more likely.
Yeah.
So, do we really want to know what's going on in the background? And I think the answer is yes, we do. We want transparency, but let's go in. Let's talk about articles that
Uh,
relate to this.
a perfect segue, and the first article talks about transparency, and it's a research article titled "Guided," which is an acronym for Generative AI Delegation Taxonomy, a taxonomy for
Catchy.
human. What'd you say?
I said it's catchy.
Very catchy. A taxonomy for humans to delegate tasks to generative artificial intelligence in scientific research and publishing. So we've been talking about classification of AI use assistants and the need for researchers to be transparent about what they're using. And so it's a facilitator for it. So it focuses on using AI responsibly in scientific research, and it's a taxonomy to delegate research tasks, whatever research tasks that you might be delegating to AI, and it emphasizes the human oversight of any such task and the output that it generates to maintain integrity. And that's what, Tony, we've been talking about for the last maybe 30 episodes or so. And
Yeah.
this taxonomy aims to enhance transparency and accountability in AI use, and it covers various research stages from conceptualization to ethical review. So it is sort of similar to what the STM draft classification on AI assistants, as well as the discussion around it. So, I mean, I'll just ask you what are your thoughts on it before I show you what the actual declaration generator that they are.
No particular thoughts apart from the fact that what we're talking about is a process which I think within a relatively short period of time is going to become a standard practice.
Right.
We're talking about the principles now, the process, the tasks now, and I think within five years, I'm sure this will be standard practice for anyone doing any kind of research management or research communication.
Yeah. So the one thing that I really like about the research is that they have a GitHub-based interactive tool, the Guided Declaration Generator, which was developed to help researchers document delegation choices transparently. So I have opened it right here. So I'm zooming in a little. So let's just say I'm the person who is doing this and creating. So I'll say Dr. KK, and let's say ChatGPT and Claude, right? And I'll say if I'm writing a research paper, I'll say that I use it for idea generation and maybe defining the research objective. And I did not do any literature review. I did not do anything but the expansion of the research design. I did not use any software development or automation. And I data cleaning I did with some code using the Claude thing, and I used it for proofreading and editing and maybe summarizing the text, and nothing in the ethical part and supervision. I did not use it, let's just say, for that. And so I would say that I used Claude for cleaning up data. And I just hit generate, and this is a statement that comes up. The authors declare the use of generative AI in research and writing process according to this
Yeah,
taxonomy, and these are the
yeah,
things, and who the name of the author. So it's an excellent sort of a resource. This is the thing
yeah, yeah.
that we want researchers to at least take it as an example and generate. Maybe use this to at least draft your statements while you're declaring the use of AI for any part of your research output creation process.
Yeah, and that's the kind of the thing at the moment is that publisher messages are quite mixed around what needs to be declared. Every publisher that is receiving submission is saying, "Look, please declare that you've used AI somewhere or Gen AI somewhere in your paper." But the level of granularity where it's being used varies from, and that requirement
Mm-hmm.
varies greatly from publisher to publisher. I've seen some really good examples, some really detailed examples of, declaration. Please describe which tool you've used at which point. So this would have been very useful for this. But I think there's still a lot of work to
Mm-hmm.
be done for publishers really to raise their standards in terms of how they expect authors to declare the use of AI. So this will be very helpful. In fact, we should be talking to people about this when we're
Right.
talking to them about the responsible AI movement.
In fact, that's exactly what I wanted to ask you. So we have championed, I think, the responsible AI movement, and you have been in several conversations with publishers about this. So
Yeah.
what are publisher sort of thoughts on this specific declaration aspect so far?
Generally, it's they can't really object to it because
Mm-hmm.
it's such a it just makes sense, and it's also linked, I suppose, in a way to what the trade association STM is hoping publishers will do and embrace in terms of part of their policies. Where they're reluctant, where they're resistant, I think it's just because in certain cases it might highlight the fact that they don't have the level of they're not asking for the level of transparency that we think is required. So there's still work to be done before some publishers can fully embrace responsible AI.
And Tony, if somebody is interested, and maybe somebody from a publisher is interested in knowing more about the responsible AI movement, where can they find more about it?
Well, easy there. You can just search irresponsible AI movement on Google or the Inago website, and you'll come to us. Or alternatively, you can contact me directly at tonyo@inago.com, and I'll be happy to provide information about the movement.
Excellent. So we have talked about the benefits of AI as well as its negative effects, and we have a story from Chemical and Engineering News titled "ChatGPT tends to ignore retractions on scientific papers." So this is a concerning news. So I'll read my notes. So ChatGPT apparently often overlooks retractions in scientific papers, even if you explicitly state that. Let's say you're uploading a bunch of papers and saying that okay, these 3 papers are retracted, all the others aren't. So still keep that in mind, but it would still use it will not consider these papers any different because it tends to ignore. So this is based on a study that is published in Learned Publishing, and this was tested with approximately 217 retracted papers, 30 times each, and GPT-4o Mini did not mention retractions in its analysis. And despite retractions, papers were often rated highly by GPT-4o Mini. So that's one sort of part. It's an older model, it's a smaller model, we have to keep that in mind. And the criticism that the study has received so far is that it did not compare with non-retracted papers, in the sense that it's not a controlled experiment. And I would also argue that expanding this to a larger sort of model range would also be required. But this is, anyways, if suppose you are a researcher was listening to this, and if you happen to be using ChatGPT or any large language model for doing some sort of a literature review summarization process, please be aware that it may not factor in that some reference are retracted. Tony, your thoughts, please.
Well, I'm just saying, okay. It's interesting that ChatGPT doesn't
Mm.
highlight retracted
Yeah.
papers. I'm just wondering. I don't have any examples of the other LLMs, but it makes me sort of wonder about the process that ChatGPT uses to absorb content and to train from content, and whether there's an iterative process, whether it's going back to that content and rechecking and constantly adding to its knowledge. If it's only going once and checking references, and then it then makes assumptions about that piece of content, then any retraction that may happen after that point may get missed. So I think there is a clear case here for LLMs to need to take retracted papers into account. Because frankly, if they're not,
Mm-hmm.
they're misrepresenting the literature.
Yeah, so it's just basically that ChatGPT, at least this model, seems to consider all the information that it is being given in the same way. It doesn't sort of factor what is
Yeah.
good and what is bad. So that's something that
Well,
obviously,
what I'm saying is, if
yeah,
it, sorry, what I'm saying is, if on the Monday it absorbs the data, it learns from that data, and if on the if it doesn't, then go back to that data
yeah,
at any point in the future. If on the Tuesday that paper gets retracted, then that's missed by
yeah,
ChatGPT. So it's kind of, what's that process of that iterative process of learning and absorbing new information?
yeah.
Why is it missing retracted data? So I think there is a clear, I think, call to action for the generative AI LLMs to take retractions into account.
Right, and it falls well within the responsible AI movement. This is why it is very essential for, if you are using any form of generative AI in your research process, the outputs need to be validated by you, and this is very, very important. And until
Yeah.
obviously large models, and this is
Well, I mean,
yeah,
so I was going to say, to interrupt you, Keiko, and we're finding it's one of the most popular tools that we have within our armory, if you like, at the moment, is the retracted paper
right,
checker within our reference quality checks within Argo reports. So, if somebody can go in there, look at a paper, assess a paper, look at the references that they've included, and what reference quality check the reference quality checker will do. We'll say, look, hang on, do you know that 6, 3, 2, 1, whatever of the papers that you cited have since been retracted since they were first published?
yep. And if you're interested in knowing more about it, you can search for Inago reports or even Trinka. You can eventually get to the
Yeah.
reference quality check, and you can find out if your manuscript has references which have been retracted. So please go check it out. And Tony, I'm moving on to the next one. This is again a research integrity concerns. What counts as plagiarism? It is a news feature from Nature. So what counts as plagiarism? AI generated papers pose new risks. So this article discusses plagiarism risks, obviously in AI generated text in research papers. So it specifically mentions the AI tools like the AI scientists create research papers using large language models, and some researchers claim that these tools use others' ideas without proper credit. And I would argue that's generally all generative AIs in one way or the other doing the same thing. And so some researchers have noticed similarities between AI generated manuscript and their own works, and the debate is whether AI's use of similar methods it can count as plagiarism. And I would like to pause. And what do you think? I mean, do you think a generative AI, being trained on some text, including research papers, generates a related sort of a text but not the same? Do you think that in your sort of lens, does it count as plagiarism?
I mean, look, I suppose that I have two contradictory answers to this. On the one hand, if you're doing any form of literature analysis, literature review, by the very nature of pulling information together, reading other people's papers, taking out extracts from other people's papers, you're going to be plagiarizing that content. And the question there is how much plagiarism is actually acceptable. And that's why, and certainly from a publishing point of view, publishers set rules around the amount of plagiarism that is permitted. I mean, how many lines of a 100-line paper you can cite. On the other hand, what we're finding is that these generative AI tools really make no distinction as to what the source is. And I think, although it could be argued as being plagiaristic, the fact that you are referring to another paper, any reference is potentially plagiaristic.
Right.
And I think it's kind of inevitable. I think where the real beauty is here is that maybe the work should, the focus should be on not just how you reference someone else's work or how you sort of source other work, but how you then take that idea, take that concept, and analyze it and put it into future use.
Yeah, and Sorry to interrupt. And I thought that you had finished. So some researchers interviewed in the article also think that AI generated ideas are not truly novel, which is something that we are aware of. Especially if you ask an AI to generate ideas, it eventually sort of starts losing the sort of novelty factor eventually, and it becomes very generic at the end. And eventually there's another sort of set of arguments saying that AI does not really intentionally plagiarize it. So intentionality is also there, and it obviously it has to be supported with the citation citation. So AI sometimes wouldn't cite the original paper that it sort of is generating the text based on. And anyway, the point of this argument is that in the world of AI, the definition of plagiarism is constantly changing, and we need to be aware of it. And if, as a researcher, if you're listening in, you must also be aware if you're using it for generating some content for your research paper.
And I would urge people, if they're uncertain about if they're using sort of, AI, sort of plagiarism detection tools like Authenticate, is to refer to your Authenticate account or to your plagiarism tool account and see what they're doing about it. I know Turnitin, who own the Authenticate software, has done a lot of work around this over the last couple of years. So it's worth having a conversation with them also.
All right, and then we have a TechCrunch article about our bad incentives to blame for AI hallucinations. So AI hallucinations are basically statements or content that AI generates, which does not have any factual validity. They're basically made up things. So the question is the article is posing is whether it's because of the incentives that are used for training these models and developing these models. So OpenAI released a new research paper exploring why AI models like GPT-5 and ChatGPT hallucinate. So the focus is on pre-training, which emphasizes predicting words without true false labels, and which leads to eventually errors. And consistent patterns reduce errors, but low frequency facts cause hallucination. So if you have a lot of data to support something, then generally you don't see hallucinations, what I'm interpreting. And these evaluations focus on accuracy, encouraging guessing rather than acknowledging uncertainty. And the researchers suggest penalizing confident errors and rewarding expressions of uncertainty would probably change it, and so that we will have models that that be hallucinating less. Or I think it's probably confabulation is probably a better word to say it. I heard that in the peer review congress.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, and the current evaluation methods reward lucky guesses, promoting inaccurate responses. So there are AI research or AI training, let's say, methodological improvements that can eventually lead to improvements in the or decreases in the hallucination rate from the point of view of LLMs. And obviously this is all because at least at the initial, well, I think a week or two of the release of ChatGPT 5 and the related models, there was a lot of feedback, criticism regarding that it is not as accurate or it is hallucinating.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on it, Tony? Confabulation, do you agree?
Nothing apart from confabulation being a great new, that's my word of the day. Gosh, anything that that will reduce hallucinations through generative AI text has got to be seen as a positive step. And we've all seen examples of hallucinations in research papers that are being submitted. So I think any tool that will help to minimize hallucinations or get rid of hallucinations has got to be encouraged.
Right. In a related paper, this is a news article from Nature titled "Can Researchers Stop AI Making Up Citations?" So this is we have covered, I think, all aspects of it. AI tends to ignore the fact that retracted references need to be treated separately. Now we are talking about hallucinations in the context of references. So GPT-5, Tony, hallucinates less than its predecessors, but eliminating hallucinations fully might be impossible. So AI models sometimes generate fake citations or claim to perform tasks that they haven't. We just discussed it. Hallucinations are more common, Tony, in technical fields due to limited training data. So we just talked about it. So the less data that an AI has, which obviously in the context of academic research is behind paywalls, and maybe publishers are not willing to sort of let such data be used for training, which is fair. And there are negotiations in terms of training and licensing agreements, etc. So in such cases, especially in technical fields, AI will likely hallucinate more. That's a main argument of this paper. And the last note that I have is that OpenAI is focusing on reducing errors and getting models to admit when they do not know the answer, which is an excellent point of view. Like intellectual
all I was going to say about it, I know you're going to ask me what I think about this. This is where sometimes it helps not being an expert in the subject area. I'm not an expert in AI. I'm using it, of course, more and more, but I am not a technical expert. But I was reading this article and I'm thinking, surely all you need to do is tell your Gen AI, tell your LLM that when you're training, if you're going to reference something, make sure that piece of content has a DOI. Make sure there's some kind of digital object identifier so you can actually reference the real thing. You can actually see that the paper exists and you can confirm that paper exists, and you're not hallucinating something. Yes, you might get something wrong about context or meaning, but you're not hallucinating because that DOI will. And if it hasn't got a DOI, then the LLM has to be responsible for highlighting the fact that this is an unverified source,
Mm-hmm.
and you may want to question its validity.
Well, that's what is required, and I think there are some measures being put in place by OpenAI and let's say Claude, etc., to improve it. But the whole, the entire ChatGPT thing was actually a sort of an experiment that took off. So let's hope that the generation aspect of generative AI will be better for the use cases in scientific realm. So I'm moving on to quick hits. We have four, Tony. The first one is interesting from your point of view because I think you have an interesting anecdote to share. So research suggests doctors might quickly become dependent on AI. This is a Polish study which shows doctors may rely too much on AI for colonoscopies. Doctors were 20% worse at spotting abnormalities without AI, even in the last maybe 2 years or so. And AI helps with routine medical scans, but dependency is a concern. And some experts are thinking that the skills our human skills are being lost very quickly, especially in the medical realm. Now, I think you've experienced something similar in your recent.
Well, no, I just read the article.
Mm,
The title of the article said AI may be doctors may become reliant on AI, and how quickly it's become kind of prevalent
yeah.
in medical use. I mean, I'm just taking a simple example. I spoke to my local doctor's practice recently about a minor thing, and one of the answer messages before I even got on to speaking to a person was, look, please be advised that we use AI tools to support us in the diagnosis of medical conditions. And this is a tiny little doctor's practice in the middle of nowhere that's already embracing that technology. So I think, to say that it's on the horizon is kind of denying the truth. I think it's already here and it's already being used and quite actively being used.
Right. I mean, I recently was at the Peer Review Congress 2025 in Chicago, and I mean, we've covered a lot of research that in PubShorts, which was presented, at least modern sort of research progress was presented, and a bunch of AI related research in the context of research integrity and peer review come from obviously computer science and machine learning, right? But the other field that I found the most amount of AI acceptance and adoption was clinical medicine, and I found like NEJM has a AI journal called NEJM AI.
Yeah, and
Yeah, so some journals are even allowing for AI as in controlled experiments where AI is a peer reviewer, and some papers are also some associations like the American Association of Cancer Research is also sort of championing the cause of improved AI content detection. So it was very interesting to see this sort of because I'm from the field of medicine and I'm, let's say, pro AI or AI positive at least. So from that point of view, it is an interesting observation that computer science and machine learning and medicine are sort of, I think, the proponents of AI use in the context of academic research use cases. Your thoughts,
yeah.
Tony?
And if it's being used properly and sensibly, then
Yeah.
and it's helping to detect illnesses, then fantastic. I mean, I was concerned to see that comment about gastroenterologists in
Hmm.
Poland.
Hmm.
You can, I'm sure you can probably find articles that will give you exactly the opposite
Yeah, sure.
response as
I mean,
well.
the question is whether human skills are lost in a rapid sort of manner because of excessive reliance on AI. And from that point of view, my advice to anyone who's using it, including myself, is to still continue to critically evaluate everything that you do, especially if you're using AI. And that way, at least you are using that critical side of your mind to analyze, and that remains sharp. So this is my advice, and I hope that makes sense to you, Tony. Because the next thing,
Thank you, Dr. KK.
next thing is a very AI positive, very applicable, usable sort of a thing. This is a new story about Microsoft Excel's Copilot function, and it says Excel's new Copilot function transforms data handling with AI's natural language processing. So the cool part of it is that I guess, Tony, you've used Excel formulas, and they can be very cumbersome to learn or to understand or improve. Now you
Oh,
can use
tell
natural
me about it.
natural language processing. You can directly talk to it. You can write to let's say the AI, and it will help you create the right formulas and pull the right data and everything. So I
Yeah.
strongly recommend that people start using, at least if you have not used AI, you should start interacting with AI through the Copilot functionality in within Microsoft
Does
Office.
it require Windows 11?
I do not think so. I think it requires Microsoft 365, the latest versions of the Office.
Okay.
That's what
Well,
I
I've
understand.
got a Microsoft 365.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a play with this later on because I love using Excel. It's probably my favorite Microsoft application.
All right. So moving on to the next quick hit, we have an article titled "Wired and Business Insider Remove AI Written Freelance Articles." So these are sort of ghosts written by AI, and the articles were bylined Margot Blanchard, who is not verifiable as a real person, and
Well, yes, because first of all, Margot isn't the way you spell Margot, is it? Isn't there an E missing? I
uh,
might be wrong.
this is what the spelling is.
Yeah,
So both
yeah.
these publishers or journals or internet sites remove these articles, and there are many other articles, many other sort of such places where articles like this have been removed. So this is another concern. We've been talking about ghost written articles. I mean, from the context of academic research, this is similar to paper mill related paper submissions. So that's an interesting point. So this is also manifesting, Tony, in popular media as well. Your thoughts?
Why should popular media be any different? I mean,
In
we're seeing the experiments for the use of using AI to create scientific papers. Why should the
mm,
popular media? Why should the news press be any different? I'm sure it's already happening in that medium more than we realize.
right. The only thing that at least for both of us, we have been talking about paper mills for maybe over 5 years or so now, and
Yeah.
at least this level of articles, AI generated articles being removed, retracted, quote unquote, in the popular media came so late. I was expecting this to happen earlier. That's the only sort of surprising fact for me. And
No,
the
but having worked in popular media,
Mhm,
I've worked in sort of popular media during my career,
mhm,
and I understand the pressure some of these journalists go under working to a deadline.
mhm.
Is that if there's a tool that's available to them where they can generate content very quickly like this, they're going to use it.
Yeah, true. And talking about very interesting news from Switzerland, Switzerland has its own open source AI model. It is called Apertus, I think, and it is
I
truly
think it's Apertus, probably
Apert.
if
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
Apertus, yeah.
Yeah, so it's truly open. It is the training data is available. It is an open weight model. So it's very interesting thing. I mean, I thought it must be interesting from the point of view. I mean, we do not usually associate AI with Switzerland, and we associate chocolates and dairy, I guess, with Switzerland more than anything else.
Which shows how little we know.
So, any thoughts on
I
this?
mean,
I mean,
Switzerland has some of the world's biggest research, some of the
yeah,
world's best research institutions. The ETH in Zurich is absolutely world class. The École Polytechnique in Lausanne, absolutely world class
right, right.
institutions.
Right, truly shows my ignorance, at least in the context of Europe. But that just shows that I should probably travel more. And anyway, that brings us to the end of PopShots episode 99. Do I want to know? So, Tony, did you learn a lot, and do you still want to know more about AI?
I do want to know, but I want to know more about your visit to peer review congress. How was it?
It was excellent.
Or where was it? Where was it? By the way, this
In
year?
the Windy City in Chicago, the first time that I've ever been, I did not expect to like Chicago as much as I thought I would. But it was a fascinating experience. I mean, if from the conference point of view, I learned a lot. I mean, a lot of things, Tony, you and I talk about on PubShots. The research of similar research was being presented or discussed by the leading researchers from across, all the academic research realms. Met a lot of colleagues. Had a few interesting meetings and opportunities for us to work with other people. So altogether, excellent. Yeah, I had the deep dish pizza. I've went to a couple of concerts as part of and went to a steakhouse as well. A couple of concerts as part of the Spirit of Madison. I went to Madison, Wisconsin as well for a couple of days. Some concerts, some interesting food, but most importantly, the peer review congress was truly like it was one of the best from a knowledge point of view. I learned so much regarding peer review and research integrity.
Yeah. Yeah, I've not been to the peer review congress, but I've been to Chicago several times. It's a great city. It has some great record shops,
Yes,
which is always my measure.
excellent. So, Tony, for those who are listening in, if they want to listen to the rest of 98 episodes of Pop Shots, how can they do it?
Of course, yes. So make sure you've got a couple of days free. But if you want to watch all previous 98 episodes of Pub Shots, can I ask you to? I would urge you to first of all like this video and share this video with your colleagues and make sure that you're letting people know this podcast exists. All previous 98 episodes are available via our YouTube channel, the Inago YouTube channel. Just search for PubShorts on our on YouTube, and you'll find all previous 98 episodes available there as a playlist. Yeah, and make sure you keep 2 or 3 days free to watch all 98 episodes.
Well,
Because it's amazing. I have from episode 1 to episode 99, the themes are still the same. Those themes of integrity, those themes of research, the desire to get research right, isn't going away.
yeah, and well, that brings us to the end of episode 99, and we are looking forward to episode 100. We will try to make it special, but we are not sure because we've both been busy traveling. But anyway, so until the next episode, Tony, this is Dr. KK signing off. We'll see you in the next one. Bye, Tony.
See you in the next one.